Flower Stampede, Smoking Hot Cannabis Accessories are my line, which recently launched actually during the pandemic. It's designed to be pretty practical, affordable, everyday, at least for me, it's everyday items. And it's the kind of thing, during the legacy market, I went to a lot of head shops. Things are very bro-ish, grungy. It's changing now, of course, and I'm really excited to be in the space. I'll be really quick, show you a few items. My beautiful rolling tray and matching, but not too matching, 4-layer, of course, grinder. This is a signature pattern, features wildflowers, poppies, dandelions, and of course my logo, Clara Sativa. Another exciting product that's getting actually men too. There are men on YouTube literally using my pipe. Magnetic spoon pipe, it's fabulous. It comes apart, easy cleaning, no screens. I've been like test driving it a lot, fabulous. Locking, of course, smell-proof stash bag. Keep all your edibles, flour, everything away from the kids, the roommates, the husband. And then some fun products that, I mean, we talk about pink washing, but hey, I'm all for pretty punk, fun things for women. Lipstick pipe. Actually, quite a nice little bowl in here too. So discreet, but fun. And then my bestseller, bringing back the roach clip. We have ring roach clips, gold, silver almost sold out. I am bringing it back with another exciting color pattern. So our products are available online, and then we're starting to sell to retailers. I'm very excited about retailers opening up again, being able to get into stores, get to the public. Couple in Toronto. Hopefully, we're going to be announcing Calgary really soon. And then, of course, anybody who's online, contact me. I've got a line sheet. I'm really flexible. I just want to be out there. Online, flowerstampede.buzz, available to all Canadians. Well, we've got lots of deals. We've got $5 local delivery, free shipping on $50, lots of coupons. And in fact, if you use WWC at checkout, you get 15% off. I want to give a shout out to my wonderful Americans International community. There's lots of you out there. It's just really difficult because accessories are also classified as cannabis. So I have a few things on Etsy. It's hit or miss. And I'm really hoping for a better solution, a seamless way for Americans and the rest of the world to buy our products. And I just want to say also, it's been a fabulous day so far. And it's really exciting to be sponsoring the panel on community because, I launched during the pandemic. So I've really only met a lot of the great Canna fam socially, and everybody's just been amazing. There's so many strong women out there advocating just because they believe in the plant, not, the people being influencers, even though they're not supposed to be influencers. There's bloggers. So it's really exciting. And I really hope to be able to meet some of you in person soon.
Right? Soon, we hope.
Yes, enjoy. So is that a minute?
That's perfect. Thank you, Dina.
Connect with me online, Instagram and LinkedIn for the business part.
Yeah, please do. Great gift items, items for yourself. I love that pouch bag. That looks gorgeous. It will be on my list next. Thank you so much for sharing the items. And please do connect with Dina and all the wonderful products that she has.
Thanks so
amazing. Thanks for being our partner today, Dina. We appreciate it. Flower Stampede, everybody, please connect.
Bye.
Okay, so we are going to bring up, we have our moderator today is Jess Steinberg. We have Samantha Montanaro coming in. I think Clara Sativa, we might be having some tech problems, but we are working on that. Our own Danielle McKay, there she is, and Sarah Clowater. So over to you, Jess, for this wonderful conversation of cultivating community. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm so excited to get into a conversation with these lovely ladies about cultivating community. I know for so many people, being on Zoom and having Zoom fatigue is a common occurrence. And so coming together in a new way and discussing where cannabis fits into this and events and how do we do that to reach out offline and online is something that I think will really hit the nail on. To give a bit of background, my name is Jessica Steinberg. I am currently based in Oxford in the UK. I'm doing my PhD here, and I've been researching the legal market for about 5 years. Fortunately, Oxford has taken a bit of a risk as I'll be the first graduate to actually study this particular field. I'm an anthropologist, so by doing my field work, I also ended up becoming an insider to it, let's say. And so I started a cannabis consultancy called the WWC and a women's empowerment platform that's based here in the UK called Entourage Network. And I co-founded that with Jasmine Thomas, who is another speaker for a panel later today. But I want to get into each person's introduction and a bit of a bio. You guys all will do a better job than I do. Samantha, you're the first in my screen, so I pass it over to you to give a bit of a background about yourself, what brought you to cannabis, and if you can give like a short summary of how you cultivate community, we can use that as a starting point as well.
Sure. Thank you, Jessica. Hi, everybody. I'm Samantha Montanaro. I am the co-founder and CEO of Cultivating. Cultivating is the global feminist community for active cannabis culture. We're a global community of active cannabis consumers and business owners that believe in normalization, equity, and empowerment of a modern consumption culture. We connect through creative, social, political, and intersectional feminist forward activities and art, creative campaigns that work to create radical positive change. I'm based in Portland, Oregon, and I had a love it first toke type of experience with cannabis when I was a teenager. But, in my life of just, I grew up with a family who was constantly creating community through music and cannabis and food and, all of the things. And I have just been really passionate about building community and connecting people within, my local community and beyond, really forever. I founded Prism House, which is a cannabis-focused event space in Portland in 2015. And my work in cannabis really started there. And Cultivating was founded in 2017, and we started as an event series and have continued to expand. But I'm really excited to talk about community building. I just think that, community and cannabis together and psychedelics and this like revolution that we're experiencing right now are like really providing a lot of solutions for some of the greatest plagues in our world. As we're in this digital space, it's like, it's amazing to connect. And in some ways, I know people feel more lonely than ever. So I'm really excited to be here. Thank you so much. Really stoked to talk about the ways that, the future of community building and what's going to kind of come from here, because I just see the possibilities as it's limitless now, because we can use these spaces. We're getting comfortable with it. Zoom fatigue is real. But also I think we're getting more used to this. And then, the in-person stuff is starting to come back as people are getting vaccinated and whatnot. So really excited to be here. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Sam. I see Sarah continuing to nod her head in agreement of so many points that you brought up. So I'm going to pass it over, and then I'm sure we're going to touch back on a lot that you had already mentioned. So thank you.
Yeah, totally. I've been nodding my head all day. My neck might hurt by the end of this. So I'm Sarah. I've worked in CPG and other fields before I ended up in the cannabis space. And I started down the journey with Sundial Cannabis. Had an amazing experience, was one of the first people onto the marketing team there, and really got to see the growth and watch the crazy industry. And then decided last year to make the move back to the East Coast. So I went from Calgary back to Fredericton, New Brunswick. So a lot of people, if you're from the US, I'm just about an hour and a half from Maine. Give you a little context to where I'm located. And building community always started for me. I'd say even when I was young, I was a connector. I always loved to have friends and people from different places and different lifestyles. And I guess I just kind of continued down that path. And why I decided to stay in cannabis even out here, now that I'm just doing some consulting and contracting work, is that it gives me even more accessibility now that I can work with so many different groups and be able to bring so many different people together and really fight to end that stigma, which I've realized is still there. And especially moving from a larger city to a smaller city, it's very much still prevalent. And especially to say that you're a woman in cannabis, people look at you like you have four heads sometimes here. So definitely working to bring that education out there and continue with that. So thank you so much for asking me to be part of the community panel. I'm really looking forward to it. And yeah, let's see where we go.
Thanks so much, Sarah. I know that Clara has brought out a documentary and educates in different ways. So I'm keen to turn it over to you next to fill in some gaps there and provide a bit of a background about yourself.
Hello, sisters, brothers, everybody who is listening us. Well, first of all, thank you so much for the invitation. I'm so excited to be here sharing with you with such a wonderful and empowered cannabis women. And yes, about me, I'm Clara. My name is Clara Sativa, and I'm an independent journalist, filmmaker, human rights activist. I'm also a co-creator of Cannabicas documentary, which is the first collective documentary of cannabis women of the world. And I'm so excited today to talk about it. And I'm also a co-founder of Mujeres Canábicas, the collective Mujeres Canábicas, and REMA, which is the anti-prohibitionist women network in Spain. And also co-founder of Marijuana Television, which is the first cannabis culture and media YouTube channel in Spanish. And yeah, so glad to be here and sharing with you, girls. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And now to Danielle, the reason we're all here and who's been working so hard behind the scenes. Please share a bit about yourself and bring us up to speed.
Oh, thank you. So I'm Danielle McKay. I'm the trade marketing and PR executive at Marigold PR, and I'm the WWC Conference event lead. So I'm just so thankful for everyone who's been tuning in and for everyone else on all of the panels. I really love community is just such a big part of what we do at Marigold, and really my whole life I've really always been very drawn to more structured kind of socializing and community involvement. I think it's a great way to meet people, whether you're in a new industry or you're looking to change career paths, you're in a new area. Kind of having structured events and organizations that people can join and be a part of. It's so much of what we're missing in modern society. So it's great to be able to put on these events for our communities and on behalf of our clients. To really bring everyone together.
Awesome, thank you. I know everyone who's signed up and is either here or will watch it is so grateful that you guys have put this on. So let's just dive right in. You brought up it's something structured events are something that is missing from society as a whole. But I'm now curious to contextualize it a bit further into the COVID-19 lockdown virtual reality that we all currently live in. What do you guys think about what we have gained, perhaps, or what we have lost from virtual events? And where do you think we should go? Because if we've really lost something, or we really gained something, is there a hybrid answer? Kind of as companies are looking to host more events, as conferences come back online, offline, let's see what you guys think about how to do that best and really generate a sense of community if that is something that we are missing. Samantha, we'll go back to you first.
Yeah, you know, I feel so thrilled about like the way that the pandemic and lockdown situation has kind of forced us all to get over our digital anxiety. You know, like the way that I feel like doing a video call before or getting into a digital space, I think everybody has experienced this, right? Where it's like, it's not working, the link's not working, like something's going wrong, and you start panicking. And like, the more that we all do this, the more it's like, it's all right, okay, yeah, it's not working, I'm gonna refresh. Okay, that's not working, I'm gonna go back and check my email again, what's going on there? Oh, there it is, oh, okay, I'm in. You know, and just getting over that, like, literally your physical response from like trying to connect in the digital space. I know that my family, my parents, older folks, people all around the world, like everybody's kind of had to embrace this if they want to connect. And I think that that's really something that we're gaining, because I don't know about y'all, but the way I'm making connections right now, and the like speed to which things are moving in a really beautiful way, and there are no boundaries. Like we're all over the world right now, here in this space together today because of this. And I love that. I think it's really helping us as a global community actually connect on a deeper level to like do the things that we're like, oh, you're doing that in Spain, we're doing that here too, you're doing that in Canada, oh, you're doing that in South Africa. Oh my gosh, like with Tokeativity, it's just been incredible to see and hear these same stories that are happening in these different spaces. To speak to like the future of events, I really hope that we continue to get creative about hybridizing this. I mean, at Tokeativity, Lisa, I know Lisa Snyder is my business partner. She's the co-founder. She's here today. You'll see her in the chat box. She's been talking about virtual reality at events for a really long time. And like at Tokeativity, we're getting really excited thinking about the future of how we can integrate technology into the in-person spaces to keep this deep sense of connectivity that's happening in this global movement, right? Especially in the women's wellness, cannabis, psychedelic movement. It is on. We are here to change the world. We are here to, balance the scales, to like bring Mother Earth's health back into the forefront, our own health, our children's health, community's health. We have to do this together. And if we're not connecting on that global scale, we're reinventing the wheel everywhere we are. So I just like am very excited about how we can continue to utilize technology to be on the same page and to really be working together as a global movement that is connected, grounded in our mission and in our purpose and in these stories that we just keep hearing. It's really beautiful and exciting. Yeah,
I think it's such a great point to bring up the global side of it. And it's such a good tip for people to not be afraid of technology, but understand how to integrate it into in-person events. And so when we think about hybrid, I don't think it is one versus the other, sacrificing, again, one versus the other there. But ultimately, how can we take advantage of the resources that we have? And that's something that it seems like you at Tokeativity with Lisa are doing really well. So curious to hear, let's see, from Sarah, what kind of tips and tools for using technology and bringing the virtual into the real world and vice versa?
Yeah, I mean, my background's in marketing, but definitely I come from a deeper background from events. So for me, when the whole pandemic hit, it really like stopped me in my tracks. And I was like, oh God, what am I going to do now? Like, I'm a hot mess. Everything that I just did, like I traveled, I was never home. I'm like, what? Oh my God, what's going to happen? So for me, like it was a big like shock, and it was a whole like circuit breaker. I had to rethink about how I was doing everything. But then like Samantha was saying, I realized, I'm like, you know what? I've already done these video calls. I have experience with this and it's not that bad. So I'm like, how can we use this to reach more people? And then all of a sudden it clicked. We're going to use this to reach more people. This is the tool right now that we have, that we got thrown into. And this gives us the capability and the opportunity to reach so many more, not just women, but everybody in the cannabis and psychedelic space globally. So that was huge. So I mean, I'm just reiterating from what Samantha said, but I mean, I think it took it, and it was not the timing or anything that anybody had planned, but it was that unplanned event that made everybody kind of accept digital a little bit more and virtual, and be able to just, say, we can actually still communicate and still interact with each other and grow and watch how that can be part of it. I really do miss the face-to-face though, like the actual, I'm a hugger, I'm a handshaker. I miss that personal interaction with people. So I think there's going to be a balance that will come out of this, that you'll see, that you'll have events that will still be in person. But that's the thing, it's going to become this hybrid, totally like what you had mentioned, that there's people that can't travel and go to these conferences and interact globally and, just pick up and go. They have families, they have lifestyles that won't allow it. So I think that's what you're going to see, that, yeah, it might be a VR, or it might just be, you know, cameras that are all around the room, but it allows everybody to interact a lot more, and it's going to be a lot more engaging, I think. But that's going to be part of it too, is that you need to keep the people engaged face to face, and you're going to have to keep people engaged virtually. And I think that's going to be a little bit of a path that we're going to have to figure out once things open up a little bit more. But yeah, I think it's going to stay hybrid. And I think using the virtual tools and conferences like this and being able to reach people globally is going to be the way to go. Absolutely.
Yeah. When you said you're a hugger and some people are handshakers, I just went to the idea that at cannabis conferences, especially when you're in a legal state, there's something so special or unique about passing a joint, or being at the networking event and having a sip of wine together. And it's like, I can have a gin and tonic here, but it's not going to be the same. It's 5 p.m. in the UK, and I don't know what time it is by you. So there is this element of the physical that, especially with a plant where we're all sharing it in some way, shape, or form, and we have this relationship to it, there's something that we might be missing. And I don't know how we can best integrate that into the virtual world. But I'm going to turn over to Danielle, as you do work on different events and you see the virtual space becoming more predominant, let's say. What are some examples or best practices for people to engage with whilst they are online to really cultivate that sense of connection, whether it's for networking, business deals, things like that, or just a sense of belonging, whatever that might be?
Yeah, I definitely think virtual opportunities are what you make of it. I know we've all been to kind of conferences where maybe you only have it on in the background while you're working on other things, which obviously it happens to all of us. We're all super busy, but the more you can engage in what's being presented to you, and look at the additional opportunities, like checking in on the hashtag, like being in the chat, like we have so many people like making their connections and sharing why they're interested in being here. So it's very much a what you can make of it. And I actually also wanted to kind of circle back to one of the benefits of virtual. Obviously, it does come with its own unique set of challenges regarding accessibility. But in addition to being global, it also does allow people that do have physical limitations to going to events, whether it being some sort of physical disability or immune compromised, unable to travel for whatever reason. It really does help level the playing field and making sure that everyone's able to participate in the conversations. So we still have a ways to go to making sure that we have a fully equitable society, but it's definitely helped in a lot of regards. So I think that's been great.
I'm so happy you brought that up, because it's something, especially when it's an invisible illness or something like that, that people don't think about. It is totally forgotten or neglected. So I think there are very true advantages, and it just makes me begin to think about how we begin to prioritize diversity in general within a sense of cultivating community. And Clara, again, looking towards you, I know that you kind of bring light to different parts of the world that might not be part of the mainstream media when it comes to cannabis at all times. And so you definitely give a platform to people with different voices. So in terms of diversity, how do you make that a priority? And when you talk about a collective sense in your documentary, how are you making sure that that really is collective and all these voices are heard?
So, well, so nice to see you here, Jessica. You also participated in our documentary. It's a collective documentary because it's made by the same cannabis women who filmed themselves. So, of course, it's not the first documentary about women or the first documentary about cannabis women. There are many other documentaries, but it is the first collective documentary, like created by the same cannabis women filming themselves, their own experiences. And in order to talk about their experiences, their own testimonials, and to bring together to the community all the benefits and uses of this magical plant. So the documentary Cannabicas It has been an amazing experience, doing it all together, receiving all those videos. There are more than 200 women of 30 different countries of the 5 continents sharing their experiences, all diverse women, totally different realities, many different countries, experiences, but all of us sharing the love for the plant and how this plant can create community, how the plant help us to cultivate ourselves, to cultivate and take care of Mother Earth as well, and also how can we change the world with this plant. And what was exactly your question, Jessica? Because I'm lost with the virtual question and the other one.
Just the idea of diversity in cultivating community. So from even for a brand or a company, how can they really bring that idea to the forefront of part of their company culture, but also in a sense of events, like how do we make sure that panels are representative and what's the importance of that?
Yeah, I got it. About this topic, we also talk about it on the documentary because there are many different diverse women that we feel not well represented in the cannabis industry, in the activist movement, and also, of course, as a cannabis women in this patriarchal society where we live in, we still also in the first world, we still live a lot of sexist situations, and there is a lot of stigma still. And with this documentary, we try to share our diverse opinions, our diverse ways to think, and basically how important is to create a diverse cannabis industry in order to because there is a space for everyone, right? And the cannabis industry is one of the first industries with more women leadership, also with a big, the fastest increase. Sorry if I have some mistakes in English, trying to improve, but also still we experience the sexism and a lot of unfair situations. So this documentary wants to also show up and denounce, to make a collective complaint about all these issues and how important is to cultivate community and to participate, all of us diverse women and all type of diverse bodies participating in the activist movement, in the industry, in order to as Jill Pollard said, I think she's also Canadian, to flourish, all of us together.
Amazing. We had someone ask actually how they can watch or purchase the documentary. So yeah, first of all, I'll start there.
Through YouTube. So the idea was to do the premiere at the Hash Marijuana and Health Museum in Barcelona in March of 2019. And it was the day of the premiere, it was March 14th, the same day where the lockdown started and everything, all the airports were like closing the flights, everything. So we were not able to do the premiere on that date. And yeah, the documentary has been like during an entire year in standby for a physical face-to-face premiere. It was our idea and our aim, because we really wanted to join together many cannabis women from different parts of the world. But as we realized that the pandemic was still not over, and well, finally we decided in order to not postpone more and more the March 2020. I said 1 year after. All the adventure started in 2019, but then the premiere was meant to be on 2020, and then finally we were able to do the premiere on this past March through YouTube. So virtually, thanks to the big tech, we did the release, the premiere, but it's through the same platform that has been censoring us. I mean, YouTube and well, all the big techs, you know that they've been censoring cannabis for a long time. But luckily, the Cannabis documentary is still on air, and everyone can watch it for free on YouTube if you write Documental Cannabicas or Cannabicas documentary.
Lisa just put it in the chat, so for people who are attending, definitely just go check that out. Yeah, because we can, then people can go watch it and support and share, because even if YouTube is censoring you or us in any way, I think there are many loopholes that we have. And again, as the strength of the community shows, we figure out how to overcome it. Oh, there we go. One more link.
Here the documentary. Just that, sorry, we are still working about the subtitles because there are more than 7 different languages. And as it's an activist documentary, well, we are working on the multilingual subtitles. But if you know a bit Spanish, English are those 2 main languages, and I'm sure everybody can learn.
Yeah, I mean, that's also a great point in terms of how we can be inclusive and think about that there are different languages, like people coming around the world to join the cannabis space. So it's just, how do we keep all of that in mind? And going back on a point that you also mentioned about these women are coming together, they're creating connections, coming at it from a side of, okay, so we go to a conference or we have a business meeting and this connection is created, but then what? How can we really foster productive long-term partnerships and collaborations? Is there like a magic sauce that we're missing? Or what do you think about those collaborative relationships? And Samantha, I'll go back to you on this one, because I think you do it on a regular basis.
Yeah, like I wanted to comment on you know, just like diversity within the cannabis space too. I wanted to make a comment on that because I think it's really important. Like every other freaking industry that was built off of the backs of Black and brown folks, the cannabis industry specifically, like the drug war, is such a blatant like slap in the face to people of color. You know, like the drug war is literally a tool for oppression and still continues to be essentially modern slavery with like our prison system, specifically in the US. It's so messed up. And then the fact that there are like people making billions of dollars while there are still people sitting in prison. Just this last week, you know, Mississippi had legalized medical marijuana, and a man was like up for, he's been in jail for like 30 years or something like this for like, or it was 30 grams. I don't know how long he's been sitting. I don't want to mess up the details around this, but regardless, he did not get out of jail. Like the court like voted that he's going to stay in prison for cannabis, even though it is legal, it is being legalized in the state, and even though it's being legalized everywhere. So, I was just going to say that, you know, it's essential that if you are involved in cannabis, that you educate yourself on the racist history of the drug war. 1, 2, that you think about, especially if you're a white person, that you think about how you're participating in this movement. If you are benefiting from, you know, the legalization of cannabis now, you need to be reinvesting into the communities who have been impacted the most. I just think it's absolutely essential. And if you don't know how to do that, please write me a message. I have a lot of ways to share with you that you can do this. And it doesn't have to be this, you know, it's just like you start somewhere and then eventually you're like, okay, this is a part of my company culture. And that's really where we need to be. This space is for everybody. And, you know, I think that the cannabis industry has this really beautiful, unique opportunity to continue to be the most diverse industry. And one of the most profitable industries as well. We can make money together, you know, and do the things together. So I just wanted to make sure to point it about that. And then you had said, what was the question again?
Well, before we go to that, does anyone else want to bring up anything on the diversity side? Sarah or Danielle?
Yeah, I'll just jump in quick too. I'm so glad that you brought that up. When I first started in the industry, I had a little bit of knowledge of the background. I'm sorry, there's a bug flying around my head if you see it. And I really learned from a couple of my coworkers at Sundial at the time, there's so much more to this that I had no clue about. I thought that I came into it, did lots of research. No. So I think even people that are working in the industry currently, there's so much still that everybody needs to learn, and put that out there and share it, and make sure that everybody coming into this industry or working in it currently understands the background and understands like how this industry even exists, and the strife that so many people have had to go through and continue to go through, and how wrong it is, and that we need to work together too to create this community to help these people that are, like you were saying, Sam, still in jail and getting put in jail still. Like it makes no sense to me, and I'm very impassioned about that, and I've really tried my best, and I'm going to continue to do that. And even, I mean, as you were saying, you have ways for people to get involved, things like that. I think that's something that's so important that people need to share globally within their province or state or country, how you can do that and how you can be supportive to each other. I think that that's huge going forward, and it needs to be at the forefront for everything.
Danielle, I see you unmuted. Do you want to jump in there as well?
Yeah, I think this is great. And I definitely agree with Sarah and Samantha. And I think bringing it back to collaboration and community, there's no need to reinvent the wheel. If you don't know where to start and you want to become more involved in it, like partner with Cannabis Amnesty or Normal or Last Prisoner Project. There are so many wonderful organizations already pulling together this work and help lift them up and amplify the work they're already doing. And that's a great way to bring together the wider community to help with some of these issues and help bring the industry back onto a good path.
I mean, I just want to jump in here and like keep it going. Like the beautiful thing about the virtual space is accessibility. Like, you know, even marginalized communities or like, communities that, you know, repeat folks who don't have a lot of money. Like at this point, cell phones have become really quite accessible, right? And the internet is starting to be everywhere. It isn't such a privilege to have the internet anymore. It's starting to be literally everywhere. Some cities, I remember when I was in Spain, there were some cities that had just internet for the city. I don't remember where, but I was in Spain, and I was like, this is so cool. We should be doing this more here. But that, you know, a beautiful part about this kind of like post-COVID virtual, you know, hybridized space that is coming is this accessibility to communities, you know, again, not location specific. And also, again, this like connection for the global movement when we're looking at racism. You know, I grew up in Wisconsin, you know, I like definitely came from that lens of like, what's going on? I'm not racist, right? Like, you know, it's like, okay, the more you know. Like I grew up in a super racist community, and I don't even think they realized that. I still think there's lots of people in West Bend, Wisconsin who don't even realize that they're super racist because they're just in their bubble, living their life, doing their thing in this predominantly white community. So what's happening with technology is we're like really connecting, and we're seeing this stuff, we're hearing this stuff, we're seeing people being murdered. We're seeing this recurrent issue. We're hearing about things faster than ever. We're learning. It's amazing. And I think it's really, although it's very painful, it's painful for literally everybody to swallow the hard pill that oppression has been the, you know, in the forefront of colonialism and of the, like, you know, the spread of people taking over the planet. it's really been a part of that. So I think this is just such an exciting time to be alive, because it's like this renaissance of these ancestral, these deep things that I think we all feel, especially with the plant. The plant reminds us of these deep things that we know in our heart and our soul. And we know that every human deserves love, respect, kindness, like all of these things. You feel that with the plant. It really does communicate that. And then in combination with these amazing community spaces to be able to come together, it's never been so easy to like break things down. And I think reinvent something, like we need to reinvent the way society is building community, and especially from a lens of like, how are we making sure that, rooms look like the world? It's very exciting to think about and to continually see when you feel like, just participating in this thing that's much bigger than any one of us.
Yeah. I'm curious to hear from a marketing and branding person, Sarah, how to do this in such a genuine way, because sometimes it can feel really performative. And I feel like something that people often talk about and pass off in the cannabis industry is just like the authenticity or like the lessons that we take from the plant and things like that. And so how can a brand, a company, or just like us in a webinar like this really do that in a way that is sincere? And then also, what's the importance of like following up on what you say, really on the marketing side of this?
Yeah, that's such an important and such a good question. And I think I've shifted how I've gone at that multiple times after coming into this industry, especially after I worked for one of the large beverage companies for alcohol. So like, I feel that you need to come in and like, you can't just do something to like be diverse. And that's what I'm seeing so many companies, and not just in the cannabis space, but globally as a whole. Like, they're like, oh yeah, like look at our token employee, or, we're going to do this webinar with this person and come meet this. But what are you actually doing? What are you ingraining? And I think it has to start at the employee level. You need to make sure that your employees understand what your position is on diversity, where diversity came from, where you want it to go, how you're all going to work together to make sure that does that. You need your employee buy-in first. They're your biggest word of mouth marketers. If you don't have that and they don't understand what you're trying to do as an organization, it's going to fail, and it's going to fail miserably. You then need to come up with a strategy that's engaging to people and that they understand. And you have to make it so that it actually makes sense. You can't just put, a campaign together and be like, yeah, we're here, there, we're everywhere. We have, these people working for us. What are you going to do afterwards? What are you doing in the community? How are you then engaging with all of these people that you have employed that might be diverse, but how are you learning about them? How are you learning about their culture? How are you learning about, different holidays that they meet off, all of that? And then you throw that back into marketing. I feel like marketing still very much follows like the Christian calendar for like strategies. And when they like roll things out, like Christmas promotions and things like that. Well, what about as we become more global? We need to shift that, and we need to be very cognizant of everybody around the world and make sure that it's not just focused on, one country or one part of the country or one specific people. You can't be that way anymore. And I don't have a perfect answer of where to go or how to do it, but I think that you just need to be authentic, and you need to actually pull your diverse employees in and listen to them. We need to listen to each other. And then from listening to each other, that's where we're going to be able to continue on from there and really be able to build campaigns that make sense and market to people. I call it the new global marketing, because I don't think where it is right now makes any sense personally. So, I'm one person, I'm trying to shift and help organizations and people understand that, but you have to be authentic is my biggest take back from all of that. And then you need to have the community aspect of it too. Like, you need to actually be out and work in the community and give back as part of it, or else it's never going to work.
A follow-up question to that we had from someone in the audience is, how do you measure community engagement as a KPI? I think it is something so difficult to measure, and it's something that investors, businesses, like, that's the number that they want. So what's your suggestion on that one?
I mean, sorry, the stupid bug around my head. This is part of the technology funness, right? That's so hard to build a specific KPI for that. And I've been involved in trying to do that. I feel like you have to start from the inside same way. Like, you start from your employee engagement side of it, things, and come up with ideas and ways to give back from your employees to the community first. And then start to measure from there. How many of your employees are actually engaged with this? How many are actually giving back and coming to these things that you're doing, whether it be like, say, planting other types of trees and plants out in the community, things like that. Like, I'm just pulling something out of there. Like, that's easy. That how many people are actually involved in that? Or whether it be like you're giving back to like women starting businesses, things like that. Are employees actually mentoring or being involved? I think that's the first step. And then, like, once you get out there, then yes, it becomes similar to actually measuring campaigns as you would normally for marketing, and do your engagement. And are people actually, you know, doing this, like recycling bottles and using them for other things instead of just like tossing them in the recycling? Like, oh, now they're planting houseplants in them or things like that. As we know, like, we're a huge waste producer in the cannabis industry. So I think that's it. There's not a magic way or something that I can tell you to create a KPI, but I would say, like, start internally, really get your engagement from there, and then start to build it out as you would any of your other campaigns. But it's not something that can just put in effect and you're going to see that change overnight. Like, this is a long haul. Like, this is, 6 months, a year, 5 years, 10-year, like, roadmap till you're there.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's why it's such a good question, because it's such a hard answer. But I'm also curious to hear from Danielle from a PR perspective, where this fits in terms of messaging and outreach, engagement, and how important is your word choice and your timing and your partnerships. And we are coming up to some of the final questions. So I'm just going to encourage the audience members to either write in the chat box or in the Q&A, and I'll make sure to also ask those as we wrap up.
Mm-hmm. Well, audience and timing and messaging, I mean, that's what PR is. It's everything, right? It's knowing exactly what you want to say and who you want to say it to. And I think bringing it into the community side of things, and tying in what Sarah was saying about making sure that your diversity is speaking to your audience, and making sure you're not just dealing with the Christian holidays, you're including everyone. That also extends to, especially for brands as they're entering new markets and you're launching your content and you're thinking about events. You really need to know that local space and align with them. Like, if you're going into a smaller region, you need to know, is Friday a bad day to do something because everyone's at the high school hockey game? Or is there like a local festival that's really, really important to this community? All of those things, they're not only going to help you get your messaging across and your branding, but it's making sure that you're really connected with them and you're not just trying to sell them things. You're really invested in becoming a part of the community and growing along with them.
Yeah, thank you. That's such a good point. As an anthropologist, it's something I think about on a daily basis. It's like, how do we contextualize the local context to what's going on? And with a number of clients I work on, it's something that I always have to encourage, because like you said, if you just think about Christian holidays or Mother's Day, I think is a really good example. And some brands do this where it's like, you can opt out for Mother's Day for notifications or opt out for Father's Day. It's just being sensitive to the individual circumstances. And when you're trying to reach a huge audience, when your subscriber list is thousands and thousands of people, how do you do that in a genuine way? And so I think I'm so glad that you also brought that up, because it's something that when we talk about, as Samantha said, we're in a global movement, a global market. What does that look like? Well, the local aspects of this is more or less like the micro scale of the individual relationships and the connections that we create that ultimately seem, if I'm going to summarize this panel, how we cultivate a community. And I see that Tracy is also coming back on. So if anyone has any final words, I don't see any questions from our audience members, but if any of the panelists, you four, have any final words that you want to say to inspire or leave on a good note, yeah, Clara, please.
Yes, just well, I would like to keep talking with all of you girls the entire day, but yeah, just one thing about cultivating community and how important I think cannabis women are in this society, and especially in this new post-COVID society that it's coming. Well, it's already here. I like to make the comparison, like the metaphor with a vegetable garden. Like society is like a vegetable garden full of different plants, veggies, and all the vegetable gardens, they are more productive and they work better if they share the space with aromatic plants, aromatic flowers. The aromatic flowers, they help to prevent the plagues, they bring pollinators, and they help the veggies to have stronger flavors, to grow better. So I think cannabis women, we are like those aromatic flowers. We are very important to cultivate a community, to have this vegetable garden, this society diverse and well represented. And diversity, as we've been talking here as well in the documentary, diversity is the key to build up a new cannabis industry with better representation and with diverse opinions and with diverse points of view. So yeah, I think that cultivating community with cannabis women, it's super important in order to create a greener, fairer, and a more beautiful world with human rights for all.
I love that so much. I wanted to say, just on a final note, for the viewers today, that like the number one thing we can do to cultivate a community that looks the way that we want to see it, which is more equitable, right? We want to see more equity. We want to see women have equal access, like all the things, is to get politically involved. Civic engagement is essential. And I think a lot of times women don't know where to start. And I just implore you, for those of you who are watching, if you've never reached out to your legislators for us here in the United States, they work for us. We vote them in. They totally work for you. And you can Google who are my representatives, and you can put in your address and you can find who your people are. And you can really just write them an email and say, hey, this is who I am. And these are the things I care about. What is your stance on these things? Or if there's an issue going on, write them an email, give them a call. It's never been so accessible to make your voice heard, and it really matters. It really, really, really matters. And this is like, if we're looking at making systemic changes, it's happening there. So thank you so much for having me, and get involved, everybody. Make your voice heard.